Welcome to this episode of Small Bike Stuff. This is another episode of Around the World. This time we've got a video from an Australian in Vietnam with a Honda CT125. Very interesting because the CT125 is not sold in Vietnam. So I'm wondering how this Australian, I believe his name's Andrew, was able to secure a CT125 in Vietnam. He is also a YouTuber. I'll throw a link up to his channel in the description, so please check it out. And yeah, let's kick into it. If you want your bike to be on Small Bike Stuff, stay till the end and I'll let you know how to do it.
What is up, guys? My name is Andrew.
Pause there. Andrew, you are using a nice camera. Sorry to pause it there with your tongue half hanging out, mate, but whew. Okay, we're in for a good video here, guys. Let's check it out.
This behind me is my beautiful CT125. I make food and culture videos here in Vietnam, and this little beast is what helps me get all around the country and explore every little nook and cranny.
Wow.
So here's a little walk around, guys. And at first glance, she might look relatively stock. And
I'm going to pause it there because it does look relatively stock, but there's a few things that don't look quite right. First glance, I think that, not they don't look right. It looks like they're a bit different from stock, I guess is what I'm trying to say. That engine looks to be a different color, and the front guard is a little bit higher. So we'll see if there's any other modifications that he's done to this. It'd be very interesting to find out.
And it is. With one big twist, and that is that this is a bike that has been built from parts. The CT125 is not sold here in Vietnam. So essentially what you have to do is import all of the parts, including the frame, from Thailand, or all of the parts that you want, and then find an engine that will fit inside it. So that is what I have done. These are pretty much all original parts other than the engine, which is from a Honda Future.
Let's pause that right now. A Honda Future 125 is essentially a Honda Wave 125. They're very, very, very similar. And for a lot of people that don't know, the Honda CT125, the Honda Grom, the Honda Super Cub 125, the Honda Dax 125, the Honda Monkey 125, all of those engines derive from the Honda Wave engine, which is a Honda Future, which is also a Honda Blade in Vietnam, but that's usually the 110 version. But the 125 engine started life in a Honda Wave, and that's where these come from. That's why the CT125 doesn't have low range, because they've just taken an engine they've already got and thrown it into another shape, basically. Yes, some are manual, some are semi-automatic, some are kickstart, some are electric start only, some are kick and electric start, but yeah, very interesting little point there, and we'll keep watching.
I believe it's the same thing as a Honda Wave overseas, and that they just sell it under the Future brand here, at least for the 2022 model here in Vietnam.
Looks good. Looks really good.
And here are some more close-up shots of the engine. Hopefully Callum knows a little bit more about this than I do. That comes from my Honda Future, a 2022 model that I bought brand new just to rip the engine out of it to accommodate this bike. And wow. I think it's pretty much identical to the engine that would have come with the CT125 originally, other than the fact that it maybe has a little bit of a different tuning and that it looks different externally.
Yeah, so it's the CT125 has a little bit less horsepower than the Honda Wave and a little bit more torque, and the gearing's a little bit different. So the Honda CT125, although it's the same as a Honda Wave engine, they have kind of, without putting low range in, given it a bit more of an ability to kind of, you know, go up an incline and things like that and be used a bit more off-road. As Herb Yule calls them, it's an off-road fun bike. Whereas the Honda Wave, that's designed to carry 4 people in the center of Bangkok, full of shopping, you know, with each person with 2 or 3 bags of stuff from the local market. So yeah, it's designed just for cruising, whereas the CT125 is designed for a little bit of off-road adventure. But yeah, essentially the same motor, just a different color as well. There's not really a dramatic amount different.
So the wheels are not stock. I have absolutely no idea what they are. Callum, maybe you can help me out a little bit. I just took them down to the local wheel man and I said, hey, sir, do you have something that is a little bit more knobbly? That would help me out. And he chose these things, and I have absolutely loved them. I've had no issues at all since purchase. And they're sort of a relatively nice 50-50, I think.
I can't see what brand they are, but it's a 275 by 17 on the rear, likely a 275 by 17 on the front. Vietnam has a whole bunch of their own brands for tires, and same with Thailand, same with Malaysia. There's a whole bunch of different tire manufacturers in Southeast Asia. So I honestly couldn't tell you. If you know what brand and model tires those are, please comment below.
Don't seem to be overly aggressive, but they have definitely helped me out here. I don't tend to go off-road as such all that much, but many of the roads here that are remote are pretty much just gravel, sand, or mud roads. So this is 100% necessary, especially with the rainy season coming up. Another small difference here is that these guards have been raised ever so slightly. And that has really helped a lot, both in terms of accommodating these tires without any rub or anything like that. And also, I've had issues in the past, off-road in Vietnam, where the mud tends to get stuck in between the tire and the guard. And I think that this is going to help a lot with rainy season about to start. The control units here are probably one of the areas that are the most different from a stock CT125, in that I don't think any of it's original. This is a cheap Chinese knockoff taco, and up until rainy season it was working perfectly and I absolutely loved it. It had a bunch of features that the stock one didn't, in that it had gear shift indicator, a clock, the taco, all that kind of cool stuff, and it was dirt cheap. The only reason I got it is because I couldn't seem to get the original one at the time, but it has now since completely died on me, so there you go.
Yeah, that's very interesting. I mean, at first glance, anyone that's watching this would have seen the condensation inside. So, unfortunately, the unit's not sealed very well, but it looks like it's kind of somewhat made for the CT125, or he's just managed to make that work for the CT125. I know there is an Opmid, or like there's another brand, Matthew Hallowell, who's from the UK, who I've interviewed before. He's got the aftermarket Speedo option on his CT125 in the UK, which is a great import as well. They didn't actually have them in the UK from Honda. So, yeah, it's pretty interesting. I mean, that's unfortunately par for the course with a lot of Chinese parts. Some of them are incredible. Some of them are terrible. You could get 10 of the exact same part and 5 of them are really, really, really good quality and some of them aren't. So quality control's not quite there yet for some brands and some things coming out of China, but it is what it is. I mean, I'm assuming that's coming from China. It could easily be from Thailand, and the same would still apply, obviously, because, you know, there's perfect evidence of it right there, not working as it should. But I'm sure it would have been cool when it did work. And that rev counter goes, up to like 15,000 RPM, which this thing is not capable of, but still pretty interesting.
That will be upgraded shortly. Okay. There's also a USB charger there, which is nice and handy. Phone mount. And this indicator system here, I have had no issues with at all. Okay. It has a few differences from stock. It has a flasher there, which has been great. This little button here is rigged to pop the seat when the bike is on, wow, which I absolutely love, because stock, you need to open the bike by placing the key somewhere under there. But now it's just a single button push, so that is tremendous. Other than that, there are just a couple of other mods. There is this center rack, which I tend to use for a little bit of extra storage, or on shorter rides, I tend to just strap in a water bottle here, and that's really handy just to have nice close by, especially with how hot it can get here. This side, I also have the guard for the exhaust. I'm
going to pause that right there. These exhaust guards seem to be a super popular thing with the CT125, and I guess that's because otherwise they, if they do fall over, then that's the first thing that's going to get dented. So I guess it does save it quite a bit. But yeah, it's pretty interesting, and I just wanted to pause it there so you could have a good look at it. And yeah, they are pretty common.
Which has been mainly useful for just shifting the bike around. But other than that, I don't really want to get this thing overly bogged down with all kinds of racking and that kind of stuff. So those have been the only real mods that I've made. Oh, there is one more. This kickstand is also not original. The bike has been slightly raised to accommodate, because I'm 6'2", which I think is a little bit big for this bike. And so this has a little bit extra reach, but I find this thing to be a little bit flimsy, so I'm sort of looking for yet another option. And this thing's not stock. I don't know what the hell that is, but it came with this fairing when it...
I've paused this right now. If you've been to any like Chinese-owned takeaway store in New Zealand, they'll often have the waving cats, which are bloody awesome. That's very cool. I would like a waving cat on my bike, please.
From Thailand. So there you go. Good luck, cat sticker. So here's a couple of thoughts on using this bike specifically for Vietnam. And I think something like this is just about perfect, especially if you're riding a lot solo like I do. I've had a lot of bikes here, such as a Himalayan, a CRF 250, an XR 150. I've rented CB500s for longer trips quite often. And whilst those bikes are great vehicles for Vietnam, the issue is that if you break down or you have mechanical issues that are beyond your own ability at all in the countryside, then any local mechanic is going to look at you like you are driving some kind of insane spaceship, and they likely will not help you at all. And I know that I don't have to convince people who are watching this channel of the virtues of smaller bikes, especially in Southeast Asia, but something like this is something that any mechanic, no matter how remote you can get, will be able to completely disassemble and rebuild from scratch if necessary. There are just no problems with parts or the skill level of local mechanics anywhere when you drive something like this. There are a couple of things that I really like about the CT125 over specifically the Future or Wave. And that is that this bike is definitely, if not higher, better ride dynamics for a taller rider, far better. I mean, this I still wish was a little bit taller, but if you are above 6 foot, then especially on longer rides, you are going to really find this far more comfortable. I personally also think it looks cooler. I like the sort of retro design and the throwback to the old postie bikes. And I find that the racking system on the back is just absolutely awesome. Just having that flatbed there, especially if you have a lot of camera gear like I do, you can just rack on and rack off a hard case filled with all kinds of camera gear. It takes 2 seconds. And so that is just a massive value add. I love it.
I'm going to pause it right there because I just wanted to have a quick chat for 2 or 3 seconds about how picturesque this guy is. He's just suited to the camera, isn't he? So this is a small plug for his YouTube channel. Go and check it out. I'll have a link up now. It's also in the description. And he's got a very therapeutic voice that's very nice to listen to for long periods of time. So if you want to go and learn about cool things through the countries that Andrew has traveled to, his name's Andrew Fraser, and you will be able to go and watch them on his channel. So please go and do it, and let's keep listening to Andrew. It's quite nice.
The bike is definitely not perfect. There are a bunch of things that I wish that it had. First of all, it is an illegal bike, being that the engine number and the frame number, which doesn't exist, do not match. And weirdly enough, that just hasn't been an issue for me here in Vietnam. Most of the police just think it's a cool bike. They haven't seen many of them here, if any, so they just give me a high five, let me go along my way. But it is an issue because I would very much like to do trips overseas into other borders, such as Cambodia, Laos, and I cannot take this bike with me. So that's one of the big hang-ups here. That all being said, even after essentially buying 2 bikes and combining this, total, it cost me far less than it would to buy an original CT125 overseas. So pretty crazy. You get 2 bikes out of it, and there's that. It has the illegal hang-up, but again, hasn't really been an issue for domestic driving. Really, for me, the perfect little adventure bike to tour all around Vietnam. And maybe it helps you guys out. If you can't get one in your country, maybe just import the parts and build one out. Who knows? Anyway, thanks for watching. Hopefully you enjoyed a little bit of a tour of my bike. In case you're interested, here is the donor bike, the 2022 Honda Future. It now has another replacement engine so that this runs as well. And that is from a 2017 Honda Future. I don't think I can get a shot of the engine. Maybe from here.
I'll just pause it there while we're looking at the Future. The 2012 to 2017 Honda Waves or Honda Futures all had the exact same engine specs. There was a slight change from 2018 to 2022 or 2021 where it was an LED model. So the engine was the same and everything mostly, but it was an LED model. And then 2023 onwards, the slightly different. I think they're all LED as well, and they've just got a few different cosmetic upgrades, but essentially the engine is very similar. They still haven't got the oil filter or anything on the side of the brand new Honda Waves with Honda Futures like they do with the brand new CT125s. But he does have a very good point there. You know, I mean, it's an illegal bike, but if you want one, have a look at all the different parts and part numbers and see what they're worth. I'd argue for someone from, you know, New Zealand or a random country, or maybe Australia, you know, because you can't get them over there anymore. It would probably be cheaper to fly to Thailand and buy all the parts individually and bring them home with you than it would be to just import them. And you'd have a lot more fun doing it as well. But yeah, I think we'll just let this play out, this Honda Future, which I think is pretty much done now. Yeah, it looks very similar to a Honda Wave. There are some slight differences in the plastic shape. But yeah, it's virtually the same. And that's it. Thank you so much, Andrew, for sending that through. It's a really interesting little machine that I have a lot of respect for. Not the Honda, well, the Honda Future as well, but the Honda Wave is the Honda CT125, sorry, is what I'm talking about. And the fact that he's done what it takes to get the bike that he wants in the country that he's living in is super impressive. And yeah, I mean, a few of us will be watching and be like, there's no way I could just build a random bike and put a plate on and ride it around in my country because of rules, and you know, it'd be too risky. But you know, if you go to a country like that and you can kind of get away with it, and why not? That's really awesome. So if you want your bike to be on Small Bike Stuff in the Round the World series, anywhere in the world, any small bike, if you're not sure if your bike's small, flick me a message and I'll be more than happy to chime in. It kind of doesn't really necessarily mean that everything 250 and under counts. It also doesn't mean that things above 250 don't count. There's, you know, I'd 100% accept like an X-Max 300 or a Honda Forza 300 or 350, I think they are now. So yeah, it just depends on whether it's small, in my opinion, which is pretty biased, but it is my channel, so that's how we run things here. And just get in touch with me on Instagram. Small Bike Stuff is instagram.com smallbikestuffig, and Facebook is facebook.com/smallbikestuff. I've got a template video where you film, it gives you an idea of how to film the different things, so generic around the shot, around the bike shot, and then do engine controls, wheels and tires, modifications, and things that you do and don't like about the bike, some riding footage if you've got it. And yeah, I can edit it all together for you, or as Andrew's done here, he's edited a lot of this for me, which is really awesome, but I don't mind either way. You can use a really nice camera like Andrew is here, or you can just use your phone. So yeah, get in touch if you want your bike to be on Small Bike Stuff. It's really awesome to showcase these bikes from around the world. Nice to see my first Honda Future on the channel, inadvertently, in the CT125 video. But yeah, if you've got another CT125 and you've done a whole bunch of different stuff, get in touch. I'm more than happy to show more than one of the same model on the channel. Anyway, that's enough for today. We'll see you next time on Small Bike Stuff. Thanks for watching.